Now, manufacturing production in South Africa fell for the third consecutive month, and Coenraad Bezuidenhout, the Executive Director for the manufacturing circles, joins us to make sense of these numbers. This is obviously a negative reading, but maybe give us a long-term picture in terms of the trend that this has created over the last couple of months and what it tells us about the state of the sector.
Okay, so there's three things, main things that are undermining manufacturing production growth in South Africa at present. The first obviously being the electricity situation, but I'd rather like to speak about a lack of secure supply of utility services. So we include water in that. The electricity situation nationally we know about. At the beginning of the year there were a couple of instances of stage 3 load shedding, which is really when it starts to hit heavier industry that can't operate at optimum levels when it stop, start. But then you've also got a lot of problems at local level with utility services, infrastructure maintenance. So it's unscheduled outages of electricity and water, which is very important because you can imagine if you've got a cauldron of boiling metals and the electricity and the water stops, then worker safety issues, there's a whole lot of issues.
How bad's the water situation?
Yeah, I was going to say,
water situation is the next big crisis. It's something that we need to pay attention to. There's not enough investment, and investment sightlines are not long enough in terms of investment in bulk infrastructure, and the infrastructure at a local level is crumbling. We haven't got enough investment, we haven't got enough supply being fed from local manufacturers so that those guys can provide the aftermarket service after the service after they've bought the pipes, to make sure that when this thing crumbles that it can be replaced. At present, you've got guys who manufacture those pipes who can't manufacture because the pipes are crumbling in the ground.
So it's a vicious circle.
Yeah.
And at what point does investment in manufacturing stop? Because people are saying, hey, we can't get into this. It's not worth expanding or investing because we're not going to be able to do our work.
Well, in South Africa and Africa, there's opportunities that comes with a blank canvas that's created by this lack of infrastructure. But there are obviously also certain instances where there are promises that are made that are not being kept. So you may have a municipality that may sign an electricity supply agreement, a business case is built around it. As soon as the shovels hit the dirt, they may say, sorry, we can't honor anymore, this has happened.
And they'll
they
blame
can't honor anymore, and then you quickly have to rejiggle. You've already lined up your investors, you've got your business plan. What do you do?
So Coenraad, this brings us back again. I think in a previous discussion, everyone said the gold miners and the manufacturers, when there's a weak rand, hey, that comes to the rescue. And I think you told us last time, you said, well, not necessarily. And what you're saying now is, if they're not able to make things, the weak rand's not going to help anyone.
No, well, let me just go back quickly. So we spoke about the electricity and water. There's also the labor instability, and then there's, of course, the situation with commodities globally that is now adding pressure. As far as the weak rand's concerned, it's allowed us to have a bit of a breathing space in these low volume conditions where they can price a little bit more boldly, have a little bit more margin to invest in their own competitiveness. But in the current situation, if you face labor instability, what are you going to do? You're going to take hands off the production line.
A very quick one before we go. The call for protection of the steel industry, is that a call that you're broadly supportive of, especially given what's been playing out in the media?
Debate around this will always be fraught, but the thing for us in general in South Africa needs to be competitiveness. We need to go for fair competition, even though we may be free traders overall.
Well, that was Coenraad Bezuidenhout, Executive Director at the Manufacturing Circle.